there's a strong connection between leadership and networking. But first, before we get into the networking part, let's talk about leadership. So there are two main elements when we talk about leadership. There's leadership effectiveness. So it's really trying to understand how a leader might use their position or their connections in order to reach their goals, whether the goals are for the organization or for themselves. So it's understanding how leaders get things done and how well they get things done. The second is leadership emergence. So that's referring to being recognized as a leader. So leadership emergence comes down to whether or not other people would actually nominate this person as a leader. So for example, imagine we're in an organization and we ask you to name leaders in your organization independent of their actual titles. So this is somebody who's influential, who you see has a lot of potential, who has people who follow them, and who can maybe make a change and make things happen. So this person then would be an emergent leader. So then again, coming back to leadership effectiveness, that's really more focused on attaining goals and motivating team members to achieve a higher performance. So trying to understand then networking from a leadership effectiveness and leadership emergence perspective, we can also see that leadership, for example, or networking in this case, can be perceived as a signal. So in this case, it would be a signal for leadership emergence. In some of my research, I've been trying to understand specifically at how individuals can use their networking behavior, so how actively or how often they connect with others, and how they can leverage those connections as a way to signal their leadership potential so that they can be seen by others as a leader. And so in this experiment, we presented participants with some information about a job candidate. In one condition, this person engaged in a lot of networking, actively managing their connections. They devoted a significant amount of time to networking. And then in the other condition, it was somebody who, yes, would like to network, but didn't really integrate it into the way they got their work done. So then after reading these two profiles, or one profile, the study participants then rated the job candidates on their leadership potential, meaning how likely they are to see this person or nominate this person as a leader. So in the first, the low networking condition, we found that job candidates were rated to have moderate levels of leadership potential by study participants. In comparison, the high networking condition, those candidates actually had a significant jump where people who engaged in more networking were more likely to be seen as a leader. And this is also important. We found this effect for both male and female candidates. So what does this mean? If I want to shape the perception of others and show and signal my leadership potential, I can do this by talking about my networking activities. So now, why is networking such an effective signal for leadership potential? Again, traditionally when we think about leadership, there are another two aspects, a task-oriented aspect and a people-oriented aspect. So the task is, of course, about getting the job done and being effective, while the other one really is trying to understand how people are doing and how showing concern for others. So now coming back to networking, in another study, we actually presented people with a definition of networking and asked them to rate the degree to which they thought networking was about getting along versus getting ahead. So task-oriented versus people-oriented. Now, take a look at this definition I'll show you in just a moment. To what degree do you think networking is about getting along? To what degree do you think networking is about getting ahead? So here's one of those definitions. Now, the results of the study showed that people in general see networking as equally about getting along and getting ahead. However, when we look at leadership potential, the strongest link between networking behavior and leadership potential is explained by getting along. This means that the people-oriented side of leadership, that's actually what predicts how much leadership potential we think job candidates have, not the getting ahead or task-oriented side. So this means that it is the people orientation, not the task orientation, that helps others see you as a leader.